I've been holding on to this story for years now, and would like to finally get it off my chest. My sibling and I lived close to an elementary school, where we would often go to walk our dog in the playing field and nearby woods. Or we would let our dog roam around while we played on the playground. I think I was around 14 when this happened, about 10 years ago. This schoolyard had a playing field, a playground near the building, and a playground farther away from the building in a crop of trees. We were swinging on the swing set at this more distant playground, but from this play area you could clearly see residential streets and the parking lot of the school, which kind of all wrap around the crop of forest. As we are swinging, I saw an SUV drive up one of the roads and pull into the parking lot. It was a weekend, so there were no other cars around, and not very many people. Maybe the odd passerby also walking their dog through the school grounds. The SUV was about 40 meters from where we were, and I wear glasses, so I couldn't see very well what the people looked like as they exited the vehicle, but I could see some distinct pieces of clothing. There were 3 people. 2 looked older and were dressed as if they were older or middle-aged, like in their 50s. I remember one of them was wearing a wide-brimmed woman's sock hat. The third person looked like an older teen or young adult, be in his 20s, and was wearing a green and white striped jersey and cleats. It wasn't uncommon for people to walk or drive to the school to use its field for play or sport practice. Though, looking back, I now realize it was odd that they parked in this lot and not on the side of the road nearer to the field, which is on the opposite side of the property. In any case, I think okay. Just some grandparents and their grandson going to practice on the field and go about playing with my sibling. I remember watching the trio walk away around the school building, completely opposite to where we were on the property. We had our dog with us, and after a time we decided to stop swinging and take the dog on a walk through the trails in the forest brush. Maybe 15 to 20 minutes had passed since the car pulled up. The brush we are walking in was in the very corner property. There was a metal chain-link fence in front of us, and beyond it was the sidewalk and residential road. To our right was another fence which separated backyards from the school grounds. These homes all had tall trees growing along the school fence for added privacy, so it was almost impossible for anyone to see into the schoolyard. My sibling and I were just at that age where playing pretend didn't really feel genuine and spur of the moment, like we were about to grow out of it. I felt bored but didn't want to go home yet, so I picked a branch of red berries that grew in the schoolyard and said to my sibling, "Hey, want to play a game?" Which was our code for let's play pretend. I was still speaking to my sibling, who was walking in front of me as I bent down, but my voice trailed off as I see my dog's behavior. She completely ignored me and instead moved past me slowly, ears back and nose pointed, as if she was approaching something. I followed her movements, still looking down. When I finally looked up, there were the 3 people from the SUV not 2 meters in front of me. They were certainly not a couple of grandparents and a kid, but 3 grown men. I remember the faces, put of the 2 older men pretending to be grandparents. The foremost man had short white hair and a white scruff of facial hair. His mouth was open in a faint O shape, as he breathed quietly and focused on keeping his steps light. The other man was extremely thin, his cheekbones popping out and shoulder length. Greasy brown hair hung around his skeletal features. They had crept up behind my sibling and I silently, and remained just as quiet as they all turned their backs quickly and pretended to point off into the trees like they were bird watching or something. It was bizarre how silent the whole encounter was. I immediately realized we needed to get the fuck out of there, and turned my attention back to my sibling as I grabbed my dog's collar and got her hooked up to the leash. My sibling was about a foot from me, but seemed oblivious to the three creeps in the woods right behind us. I tell them over and over that we need to leave, but they've become wrapped up in the imaginary game I proposed moments ago. Finally, they see the men. I never looked back at the creeps, only to my sibling. My sibling also stops talking and starts walking with me. Thankfully, there was an opening in the fence between the now haunted woods, and the road was only a few meters ahead, and we were able to gain some distance and obstacles between us and the creeps. To my frustration, my sibling wanted to stop, bear along the sidewalk, and pick some more berries through the fence, and I frantically told them to come on, let's go. I still never looked back at the men. My vision tunneled to the safety of the open road, sidewalks, and homes in front of us. Had the men followed us on foot, gone back to their car and followed, or simply gave up, I didn't care. I just wanted Pear to get home, which was only a couple blocks away. When we got home, I broke down. I told my mum what happened, and I remember her reaction being kind of nonchalant. I had always been an anxious child, and she had developed a habit of downplaying things in a kind of exposure therapy way. I realized I still didn't feel fully safe with this reaction, and retreated to my basement to cry alone. In recounting the story with my mum years later, she said she did call the police, but nothing came of it. I am also very thankful for my dog, as it is likely she saved the lives of myself and my sibling that day. In the years since then, I've become highly skilled in reading people's body language. I can tell when someone is lying. I can read people's emotions and intentions like a book. I can tell if someone's vibe is off from a good distance away. This has become a blessing and a curse. So, to the three fucking creeps from the woods, I hope no one else was subjected to your presence, and I hope you rot in hell for your intentions on that day. Let's never meet again.